Stop moping around and pay up! Please, just one more day! Please, can you wait just one more day? I'm gonna say this one time and one time only. Little rats like you that have to borrow money from crap organizations like mine, I can't stand the sight of you. My name is Takayuki Ayukawa. I'm 23 years old, and I work as a collector for the black market. Probably don't even need to clarify this, but I'm making my living in an illegal, underground world. For those of you who live in the regular world, you may think this has nothing to do with you, but the under and above ground still share the same grounds. Everybody is living within arm's reach of a connection to the underground world. Although, my life has always been detached from the regular world. Ever since I was young. My life has been trash ever since I was a little kid. First of all, my parents got a divorce when I was 5 years old. The reason for that was my father was having an affair. At that time, not only did he run away with that woman, he also took all of the money with him. That forced my mother into becoming a penniless, single mom. Second of all, to make matters worse, my father had been borrowing money from pretty bad places, so we often had various debt collectors banging on our door. My mom didn't handle it too well, and she was drowning herself in alcohol every day and fell into deep alcoholism. When I was old enough to realize, she had started working in nightlife, and I was pretty much always left home alone. At the very least, there was always a $10 bill left on the table every day. Other than that, though, my mom did nothing, and didn't take care of me or anything around the house. I had only just started elementary school, and of course I had no idea how to do laundry. I was going to school every day in the exact same clothes that hadn't been washed, so the teacher must have realized that something was suspicious, and she had notified child services. My mom tried to insist that she wasn't abusing me, but she hadn't been feeding me properly, wasn't doing the laundry, wasn't bathing me, had never taught me how to brush my teeth, and I was a completely scrawny, malnourished little kid. No matter which way you looked at it, I was very clearly a case of neglect and abuse. And this way, I was taken in by child services and spent my elementary school days in their care. You might hope that someone who grew up in such uncomfortable circumstances would develop into a proud adult after being in the care of facilities and strangers. But that only happens in the movies. Before I even became a teenager, I had already started getting involved with the wrong people and doing troublesome things. I didn't go to high school, and I became a real criminal. I escaped from the foster care system, and in order to survive, I would target empty houses or unattended cars to find anything that could be worth some money, and somehow made enough to get by. That was my daily life until I was about 20 years old. It almost makes me laugh how terrible I was. However, those days didn't last for long, because one day I was swiftly arrested by the police and spent 2 years behind bars. I mean, I can't say I didn't have it coming. If anything, I was surprised that I had gotten away with it for as long as I did. I didn't have an education, I didn't have a job, and I didn't have any real friends. Even when I got out, I didn't see any way to live an honest life, but at the same time, I didn't want to live off of just stealing all the time. I walked to a random park and laid down on a bench, hoping to just die on the spot. That was when my life changed. Yo, you're going to die trying to sleep outside like this in the middle of the winter. A man I had never seen before started speaking to me. Ha! Perfect! I think I'll stay right here then. You're not actually trying to die, are you? What does it matter? If you want to be a savior, then go do it elsewhere. Well, in that case, why don't you give me your life? Huh? I was just looking for a hard-working young man in his prime like you. I bet you've had a pretty tough life up until now, haven't you? It's not like it's going to get much better or worse than this. So at least come and hear me out. I had never met this man before, and he was already pretty impolite. But he wasn't wrong, and for some reason, he interested me. I had nowhere else to go anyway, so I decided to follow him. Boss! Nice to see you! Yo! This is a newbie who's going to be looking after things starting today. Your name is... Takayuki. Takayuki Ayukawa. Takayuki, eh? Well, I'm Samejima. Here, take a seat." I sat down and listened to this man who called himself Samejima, and it turned out he was trying to recruit me for his company. However, that company was actually a black market debt collecting agency. Well, that explains why he can only try to recruit people like me. Even then, even if it's not exactly an honest job or good work, or someone like me who had only ever made a living through criminal activity, it seemed like a better plan than anything I had. So I decided to put dying on the shelf for now, and gave this so-called job a shot. When I started working, the job actually seemed to suit me, and I was able to show strong results pretty early on. Hey! Stop moping around and pay up! Please, just one more day! Please, can you just wait one more day? I'm gonna say this one time and one time only. Little rats like you that have to borrow money from crap organizations like mine, I can't stand the sight of you. Well, in my case, maybe they all reminded me of my scumbag father, who had messed up my mom's life and my life, and perhaps I was able to channel that resentment into my work. Mr. Samejima seemed to have taken a liking to me too. He was always complimenting me and taking me out for meals, even giving me an allowance. This might sound strange, but working in the black market, for the first time in my life, I felt what others would call a purpose in life. Then one day, the boss came to me with this job. "Yo, how's it going?" "Not bad, sir." "No need to be so humble. It looks like you've been on a roll these days." "It's all thanks to your direction, boss." "What a cute thing for you to say. Since you've been doing so well lately, I've brought a pretty good offer for you today." "Ooh! Is it something to do with a salary or a bonus?" "Nice try. Of course it's not. I know. I figured it was worth a shot. I was going to give you an opportunity to really make a name for yourself. There's a client named Nagara. He's late on his payment, and we haven't heard a word from him, so I want you to take care of it." "Oh, it's just another job. I'd love to accept it, but my hands are pretty full with all of our other clients right now." "Don't worry about those. I've already asked some of the others to take over the clients you were in charge of. For the time being, I want you to focus on Nagara's case. Is he that juicy of a client? He's been drowning in gambling and owes us about $10,000 at this point. That's a pretty standard case, isn't it? It's not that high of an amount either. Is it really worth going through the trouble of handing off all of my clients just for this one? Stop asking questions and just go. This is a direct order from your boss." I guess this is the first time that the boss is insisting that I take a job. "Roger that, sir. By the way, what's the family structure?" "Looks like he's got a young wife and one daughter. They're a family of 3 living in a sad, rusty apartment. I'm really not seeing one thing out of the ordinary here. Although, it is my first time dealing with someone with a kid, right? So I thought it would be a good experience for you." "Oh, come on, that sounds like a silly reason. But anyway, I understand. I'll get right to it." "Good. Thanks." And that was the request. It was a common type of customer in this industry. A lot of the time, people assume that black market debt collectors go after good people and exploit them for their money. But in reality, it's a little bit different. The exploitation part may be true, but most of our customers are also scum who are unworthy of any sympathy. The majority of them drain their money into gambling, alcohol, and drugs, and because they can no longer go to proper consumer financing solutions, they end up coming to the black market as a last resort. That was exactly what my father had done. That's why I didn't have an ounce of sympathy or mercy towards the customers, even before I approached them. This time was the same, and I had every intention of going in with no mercy. But when I arrived at this guy named Nagara's broken-down apartment, "Hey, Mr. Nagara! Would you mind coming out here for a moment? You're well past your due date for your payments." I could hear footsteps inside, so I knew he was there. However, the person who opened the door was so beyond my expectations that my stomach sank for a moment.
My dad and my mom both aren't here right now.
Standing there was a terribly skinny young girl, probably not even in elementary school yet. It was the middle of the day on a weekday, and yet this little girl was home alone. Her clothes were stained and dirty, and I could tell that she was shaking. I knew immediately that she must have been so scared of having to deal with a collector by herself. This scene was all too familiar to me. This wasn't the same customer that I had dealt with before. My mind quickly flashed back to my days spent in fear of the collectors who were after my scumbag father. She was me. Little girl, what's your name?
My name is Sayori.
Saori? When will your daddy and mommy be home?
I don't know, sir.
I see. Well then, see you later. Instead of doing anything further, I retreated and headed back. So, that's why you left without getting anything? I'm sorry. Even if the parents are worthless pieces of crap, it's not the kids' fault, so I got carried away. Well, I guess you do like kids after all. Not necessarily. It's not like that. Is that so? The other day, when we had that barbecue, you spent the whole time playing with Kimura's little kid. That was because he kept coming over to me. I didn't have a choice. A black market deck collector who's popular with the kids. How funny. Come on, sir, cut it out! My bad. But you're right. I realize that I have a hard time coming on strongly when I see a child. I think you'll be better off giving this case to somebody else. No can do. Sorry. But to be honest, I'm not confident I can do this one. Hey now. Since when did you get to a position where you get to pick and choose your jobs? Oh no, sir. That's not what I'm trying to say at all. It's just that the right person in the right place, and I don't think I'm the right person for this job. Well, that certainly isn't for you to decide, is it? I placed this responsibility onto you. Now go make me proud. Can I ask why you're insisting that I do this job? What did you say? Are you telling me that you're going to retreat just because you can't stand up to a little kid? If that's the case, it's no wonder Nagara doesn't take us seriously. That's true. I don't want that happening. It's over for our business if even one customer doesn't take us seriously. You know that, right? Yes, sir. I'm very sorry. I will figure it out and do my best. That's the spirit. Due to the boss's firm hand, I was stuck being in charge of this Nagara guy's case. After that, I went back to that apartment multiple times, but every single time, it was always Saori who answered the door. Even when I looked inside of the house, it didn't look like there were any adults around at all, and it seemed like she had truly been left behind. The more I looked at her, the more skinny and malnourished she looked, and her clothes were beyond rags. I could easily imagine what kind of household this was. Little by little, the more times I would meet her, the more I felt my empathy for her growing inside of me. I couldn't help myself, and with every visit, I started buying her some bread or some sweets from the convenience store on my way to give to Saori.
Thanks. I love this candy. It's my favorite.
Oh, is that so? Well, make sure you savor every bite.
Yeah.
Saori started looking forward to my visits, and she would be happy every time I knocked on the door. The fact that she would be so excited to see a scary guy like me and to accept anything from a stranger just shows how little her parents have been involved. Sheesh. It sounds like such a joke for someone to be so excited to see a deck collector from the black market. Visits like this continued despite how strange they were, until one day, when I arrived as usual at the Nagara house.
Takayuki?
You? Is that you, Mai? What are you doing here?
Because this is my house.
Even though this is Nagara's house? Does that mean that you're Nagara's wife?
Yeah, I guess so.
That's right. The person who arrived was Nagara's wife and my ex-girlfriend, Mai. Her age should be around 23 years old by now. Mai was my girlfriend from when I was about 17 years old, and she was part of the same troublesome circles as me. The reason why we broke up was because she got pregnant. I told her that I would get my life together in order to raise the child, but Mai didn't believe me, and she disappeared shortly after. Wait a second. So does that mean that Saori is... Hold on. Are you telling me that Saori is my daughter?
Yeah.
Whoa! Didn't you take the child and run because you thought I was a good-for-nothing? Then what the hell is this? Back in the day, I couldn't understand it. but I had grown to believe that Mai had made the right decision back then. There was no way that a kid like me was ready or able to raise a decent child, and yet, in the end, she married a piece of crap anyway, and was pretty much abandoning her daughter all the time. That's why I wanted to curse her out, but...
You know nothing about my life. You work for a black market debt collector. Who the hell are you to say anything about how I'm living my life?
Mai shot right back. How do you even know where I work?
Because the only people who come to our house are people like you, black market debt collectors. And I'll have you know that we don't have a penny here, so leave, now!
We had fully raised our voices at the point when I looked down and saw Saori peeking out through the crack in the door.
Mommy, you're home. You came back. Shut up! Stay inside like I told you to. I'm sorry.
Hey, you don't need to speak to her like that!
Shut up, shut up, shut up! Now leave me alone! Get out! Go!
Mai had started to throw a fit, and for Saori's sake, I didn't want to add any more fuel to the fire. So I decided to leave the situation for now. Boss, did you know? Know what? That Saori is actually my daughter? Perhaps. How did you know? I've been in this world a very long time, and I have my sources. Is that why you insisted that I take this case? Because you knew that Saori was my daughter? Yep, that's right. Why did you do that? You know there's no way that I could go and threaten a household with my daughter in it? I'm sure you can't. I don't understand, sir. Look, now that you know your daughter's situation, why don't you take this opportunity to take her in and live an honest life for once? But you know there's no way that I could do that! I'm the type of person that doesn't think twice about stealing from or hurting other people. And yet, you haven't done that once since you started working. Well, that's because you gave me a chance, boss! That's not true. With or without me, you wouldn't have been stealing anyway. I found you on the park bench in the middle of the winter ready to die, after all. Well, that was... Why did you do that? If you went around stealing again, you could have survived. And even if you got caught again and went back to prison, it should still have been better than death. I was just tired of living, that's all. Why are you beating around the bush here? What is it that you want to do? What's your point? It's just that, to me, I can see it written all over you. That all you want to do is to get out of this world and live an honest life. That's why I thought this would be the best opportunity for you to do that. Do you honestly believe that I can do that? Yes, of course I do. And I think you'll be an even better father than I ever was. There's no denying that you've lived a life of scum up until now, and done some terrible things. But you've taken all of those experiences to work hard like this now. And more than anything, there's a little life over there that needs your help. Don't keep dancing the same dance here. Be a man and go do what needs to be done. I didn't know what to do. I've never had to think this much in my entire life. I had no confidence that I could be a father, but at the same time, I knew that I couldn't leave Saori in that state. I spent about a week locked into my room, going back and forth on what to do. I decided I should meet Saori one more time, and so I headed to Nagara's house. But when I arrived, this time, no one answered the door. I thought that maybe they all ran off as a family in the middle of the night, so I grabbed the doorknob, only to find that the door was unlocked. I hesitated as I cracked the door open, and when I looked inside, Saori! Saori! Wake up! Saori was collapsed on her side. No matter how you looked at it, it didn't look like she was taking a nap. Even in the dark room, I could see how pale she was. I hurried to call an ambulance right away and had her rushed to the hospital. The doctor's analysis was severe malnutrition, to the point where even he was surprised that she hadn't collapsed up until now. She was immediately hospitalized in the pediatric unit. They would be keeping an eye on her for a while and slowly nurse her back to health. I decided to stay next to her until she regained consciousness. That's when I heard Mr. Samejima's voice from behind me. Yo, how's your daughter holding up? About that. Apparently she had severe malnutrition and she'll be hospitalized for a while. I see. I did a little research of my own, and it turns out that Nagara has been on the run for months now. Then what about Mai? I found her workplace and asked them, and it turns out she quit a few days ago too. My guess is that she went to wherever Nagara is hiding. That could only mean one thing, that they had left Saori there, to die. If this is how you're going to treat your own child, you never should have given birth in the first place! Despite being a mother, she was as selfish as ever and unable to leave her past behind. I was so angry, I could barely feel my hands anymore from gripping them so tightly. Until Saori opened her eyes.
What? Hey, mister. What are you doing here? I haven't seen you in a long time. What did you bring for me today?
She was drowsy and confused, but as soon as Saori saw me, she opened her mouth and sounded happy. When I saw that face of hers, I knew in my heart, Saori, starting from today, you're going to live with me.
What? What?
I know that it might be too sudden, and it might be hard for you to understand right now, but...
Really? Are you sure?
Of course! I can't tell you the details yet, but what's most important is that you have nothing to worry about, starting from today. When I said those words, Saori started sobbing, and I held her in my arms for the first time. I felt the warmth of her small body deep in my heart. This was Saori's, my daughter's, warmth. I became a father, and I simultaneously decided that I was going to live and live honestly. Saori was going to be hospitalized for a little while longer. In the meantime, I had one more very heavy job to finish. I had to say farewell to the underground world, and somehow made my way out into the surface. But like I said before, and as you can see, I didn't even go to high school, I'm a convicted criminal, and the only job experience I ever had was as a black market debt collector. It was going to be near impossible for me to find a proper job. But no matter what it was going to take, or how hard it was going to be, I had decided that this is what I had to do for Saori. However, as if he had already read my mind, Mr. Samejima spoke to me. You know, an old friend of mine owns a construction business in town, and you see, he owes me a few favors. So he said he wouldn't mind giving you a job there. What? The pay isn't that high, but everything is legal, and it's a clean factory. Doesn't sound too bad, right? I couldn't believe it, but the biggest hurdle of finding a job was so quickly diminished, just like that! I feel so much better now that I don't have to worry about taking care of a little kid like you anymore. I'll probably never see you again in this life, so all I can say is, good luck. Boss! Don't say that! You idiot. If you stay connected with someone like me, it's only going to be bad for your kid. But this kid is your granddaughter! You better act like a real grandpa and spoil the crap out of her! What? Hey now. That's right. I had figured it out already. Why the boss had taken in a loser piece of scum like me without any conditions? Why, after taking me in, he would willingly want me to find a way out? Why he knew so much about who I was and my history in so much detail? It wasn't normal. If I was just another member of the gang, he wouldn't have spent the time or energy on knowing so much about me. Which could only mean... Sheesh. So you had figured me out already. You better not mess this up, you stupid son. Shut up, you piece of crap, Dad! You know I spent my entire life hating you. But by the time I realized it, I couldn't hate you anymore. Not once did I ever think or want you to forgive me for what I've done. All I wanted was for you to live a better life, so that you don't end up like me. And so, I washed my hands and feet of the black market, and moved into a small apartment with Saori to start our new lives together. Saori still calls me Mister. When the time comes for me to tell her the truth, I wonder if she's going to hate me.
I'm so happy when you're around, mister.
Are you sure it's okay? Even though I'm a useless little man?
Because Mommy didn't like me at all. I think she hated me. And that man that was with her, he would hit me all the time, so I was scared of him.
Is that so?
That's why, mister. Thank you for saving me. I love you.
Well, Saori, I love you too. When the day comes for me to tell her the truth, I hope I've become a man worthy of being called Dad by Saori. For what it's worth, as for Mai and Nagara, it wasn't long before Mr. Samejima, as in my dad, had all hands on deck to find their whereabouts. He sent me a photo of the two of them tied up by ropes and rolling around the old office. I smiled before quietly deleting the photo. I didn't want Saori to ever have to see that. I can imagine what happened to the two of them after that, but I'd rather not ask. There are second chances in life if you work hard enough for them. Even for someone like me, who took many wrong steps in life, I was given an opportunity to claw my way onto the right path. I'm living proof of that. However, for Nagara and Mai, it looks like that might not happen for them, at least not anytime soon. Amen to that.